us, and it's perfect.
What do you think your mother would have thought of Meghan or said about Meghan?
Oh, they'd be thick as thieves. Without question, I think she would be over the moon, jumping up and down, so excited for me. But then, as I said, it would have...
The palace was not defending Catherine's title, it was defending the future crown. Catherine, Princess of Wales, stands at the centre of a story she never started. Across the Atlantic, Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, carries a different title and a different life. Between them sits King Charles III, a monarch caught between the duty of his throne and the pull of his own bloodline. In Montecito, California, two children hold royal titles most of the world forgot existed. The headlines landed like grenades. Reports of a private reunion at Highgrove, King Charles reportedly seeing Prince Harry, Meghan and their children, Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet, transformed within hours. Media outlets turned a family visit into a calculated power move. Commentators suggested Meghan wanted access to a status tied to Catherine. The word forbidden showed up in headlines like a loaded gun. Now this episode examines public reporting, official royal records, and documented media claims. No private motive presented here should be treated as confirmed fact. That distinction matters. The real story has nothing to do with what most people think. Everyone is watching the title. Almost nobody is watching the line of succession. Hi viewers, before we go deeper, if King Charles personally invited you to a private dinner at Highgrove to settle a family disagreement, would you show up? Tell me your honest answer in the comments. The headlines frame this as two women at war. Meghan versus Catherine, Duchess versus Princess. But that framing misses what actually moved on the board. The names with the most weight in this story do not belong to the women the press keeps pushing forward. They belong to 5 children: Prince George, Princess Charlotte, Prince Louis, Prince Archie, Princess Lilibet. 4 of them will shape the working monarchy for decades. 2 of them live an ocean away from the institution they were born into. The reported reunion produced no palace statement, no restored titles, no change in working status. What it produced was a question Buckingham Palace has refused to answer publicly. Was this a grandfather reaching for his family, or was a sovereign reopening a door the institutions sealed shut in 2020? The title fight looks like it belongs to 2 women. But the next move on this board belongs to children who never chose to play. A private car arrived at Highgrove in the summer of 2026. Inside it sat Prince Harry, Meghan and their 2 children. King Charles waited at the residence he has cherished for decades. No cameras were invited, no press release followed. And within 48 hours, every major British tabloid had turned that quiet visit into a constitutional crisis. According to reports first published by Vanity Fair, the reunion was described as private and family-focused. That single word carries enormous weight inside the monarchy. A private visit means no official diary entry, no government briefing, no change in anyone's working status. It means a father saw his son and his grandchildren. Nothing more, nothing less. But the public does not process royal information that way, and the institution knows it. Here is where the confusion always begins. King Charles is not simply Harry's father, he is the sovereign. Every door he opens carries 2 meanings. The first is personal. A grandfather wants to hold his grandchildren. The second is institutional. A monarch's invitation can be read as a signal that the rules have changed. Picture 2 doors standing side by side in the same hallway. One leads to the family, Sunday dinners, birthday calls, grandchildren running across the lawn. The other leads to the crown, official engagements, taxpayer-funded travel, the balcony at Buckingham Palace. Harry may walk through the first door without ever touching the second. That distinction is clear on paper. It is almost impossible to maintain in practice. Because the moment cameras catch him near Highgrove, the public assumes both doors swung open at once. That assumption is the engine that powers every headline about a Sussex comeback. That is why the palace treats every family visit like a diplomatic event. royal commentators have noted that Charles has consistently attempted to maintain personal relationships with both his sons while respecting the institutional boundaries set after 2020. The challenge is that every private gesture gets pulled into public interpretation before the palace can shape the narrative. No official announcement followed the Highgrove meeting. No spokesperson confirmed that titles, duties, funding, or public roles were discussed. The silence was not accidental. Buckingham Palace has learned that denial creates its own headlines. So the institution said nothing. And saying nothing handed the story to the people who needed it most, the ones waiting to turn a grandfather's invitation into evidence of a royal power grab. Once the palace stayed silent, the argument moved from the reunion to the titles. The phrase hit social media like wildfire. Kate's forbidden title, 4 words designed to make millions believe that Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, was reaching for something belonging to Catherine, Princess of Wales. 4 words that do not correspond to any official royal classification, any constitutional provision, or any recognised legal term in the United Kingdom. Catherine's documented title is the Princess of Wales. She holds it because she is married to William, Prince of Wales, the heir apparent to the British throne. That title has been publicly confirmed by the royal family's official website and carries with it a specific set of duties tied to the working monarchy. Meghan's documented titles include the Duchess of Sussex, Countess of Dumbarton, and Baroness Kilkeel. These were granted upon her marriage to Prince Harry in 2018. She still holds them. They have not been revoked. They appear on official records to this day. So, what exactly is forbidden? The answer requires 3 distinctions that headlines almost never bother to make. First, a personal name is not a royal title. The press calls her Kate. The palace calls her the Princess of Wales. Those are not the same thing, and confusing them allows tabloids to turn a familiar nickname into something that sounds like stolen property. Second, a courtesy title is not a working position. Meghan holds the title Duchess of Sussex. That does not mean she performs official duties on behalf of the king. The 2020 palace statement made clear that the Sussexes would no longer use their HRH styling because they were stepping back as working members of the royal family. The titles remained, the authority behind them did not. Third, possessing a title does not authorise someone to represent the sovereign. This is the distinction headlines collapse every single time. A title is a name, authority is a function. Catherine has both. Meghan has the name but not the function. No Act of Parliament, no royal warrant, and no palace memo has changed that arrangement since 2020. The real question is not whether Meghan can take Catherine's title. She cannot. The real question is what a title appears to authorise in the eyes of the public. Catherine does not need defending from a title theft that cannot happen under British law. Her position is protected by marriage, by precedent, and by the structure of the monarchy itself. Meghan already possesses a royal title, so another title may not be what this is really about. What matters is not what someone is called, it is what the title appears to permit. And that question leads somewhere the title board cannot reach, straight into the line of succession. Open the royal family's official website, scroll past the portraits and the palace photographs, find the page labelled Succession, and read the names written there in order. Prince William, Prince of Wales, Prince George of Wales, Princess Charlotte of Wales, Prince Louis of Wales, Prince Harry, Duke of Sussex, Prince Archie of Sussex, Princess Lilibet of Sussex. 7 names, 1 unbroken line, and a truth that most of the public overlooks entirely. Harry left royal duties, he did not leave the line of succession. His children were born into it, and unless Parliament passes a new law removing them, they remain part of it for the rest of their lives. That single fact changes everything about the Highgrove reunion. This is not just a grandfather wanting to see his grandchildren. This is a sovereign maintaining contact with members of his own succession line. The emotional reading and the institutional reading sit on top of each other, and separating them requires understanding the legal framework that holds the monarchy together. 3 laws govern the order: The Bill of Rights from 1689 established the Protestant succession. The Act of Settlement from 1701 reinforced it and excluded Catholic heirs. And the Succession to the Crown Act of 2013 ended the old rule that gave sons priority over daughters for anyone born after October 28, 2011. That 2013 Act matters here. Princess Charlotte now sits ahead of Prince Louis. Princess Lilibet holds her place in line regardless of gender.
It's incredible how strong and how you've been able to cope, really. And I put that down to your really early years, childhood experience. But also the relationship that you've got. You're amazingly close.
Yeah.
And yes, you're
Most
not...
of the time.
The law changed. The succession quietly moved with it. Now place the children side by side. George, Charlotte and Louis live in Britain. They attend British schools. They appear at public events with their parents. The monarchy is the air they breathe. Archie and Lilibet live in Montecito, California. They hold American routines, American friendships, American accents, and entirely American lives. They're growing up 5,000 miles from Buckingham Palace and the institution that their bloodline binds them to. Royal commentators have pointed out that the palace can separate royal employment from royal birth. A person can be removed from official duties without being removed from the succession. But the public rarely makes that distinction. To most viewers, leaving the job means leaving the family, and that misunderstanding is exactly what makes this story so combustible. Leaving royal duties did not erase Harry or his children from the line. The palace can separate employment from birthright. But the public almost never does. That confusion prepares the ground for the revelation at the centre of this story. Charles may reconnect the children without ever restoring their parents. Stop. Rewind the entire story to the first sentence. The palace was not defending Catherine's title, it was defending the future crown. That line landed as a dramatic opening. Now it reveals its second meaning. The reported conflict was never about Meghan wanting to be called Princess of Wales. It was never about one woman stealing another woman's position. The tabloids framed it that way because rivalry between women sells faster than constitutional analysis. It generates clicks, shares, and outrage. But the documented record tells a completely different story. Here is the move nobody saw. King Charles may not be trying to bring Harry and Meghan back into the working monarchy. According to the pattern of reported behaviour, he may be doing something far more targeted, rebuilding a personal relationship with Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet, his grandchildren, two members of his own succession line who live 5,000 miles from the throne they are connected to by blood. The arrangement, if it holds, would look like this. Charles maintains regular private contact with Archie and Lilibet. Harry and Meghan retain their existing titles, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. The couple remains permanently outside official royal service, and William, Catherine and their children continue as the operational future of the British monarchy. No comeback, no restoration, no blurred lines between private family life and public institutional duty. The 2021 Buckingham Palace statement made the boundary explicit. It confirmed that Harry and Meghan would not return as working members of the royal family and stated that the honorary military appointments and royal patronages held by the couple would be redistributed among working members. That language was final. It was not written as a temporary pause. It was written as a conclusion. And yet the headlines kept promising a return. Royal biographers have long debated whether Charles views reconciliation as a personal mission or an institutional risk. The answer, based on documented actions rather than anonymous sources, appears to be both. He wants his family whole, but he knows that every private gesture carries public consequences. The genius of the arrangement is its clarity. Family is one category. Employment is another. A grandfather can love his grandchildren without offering their parents a desk inside Buckingham Palace. Affection does not require a position on the payroll. This reframe collapsed the Meghan versus Catherine headline entirely. Catherine's position was never threatened because the institution was never reopening the door to a second tier of working royals. Meghan's position was never changing because the arrangement preserves her title while keeping her outside official duties. The two women were placed in opposition by a media cycle that needed a villain and a victim. The documented structure needed neither. But understanding the board does not mean every piece is settled. One obstacle remains. It has nothing to do with Catherine's title. It has nothing to do with a royal comeback. It has everything to do with a decision that even a king cannot simply override. That obstacle is security, and it changes the entire calculation. Prince Harry's legal team filed the challenge in a British courtroom. The target was not a tabloid. It was not a rival royal. It was the government of the United Kingdom. Court records from the Courts and Tribunals judiciary confirm that Harry, Duke of Sussex, brought a case against the Secretary of State for the Home Department after the Royal and VYP Executive Committee, known as REVEC, altered his publicly funded police protection following his departure from working royal life in February of 2020. The dispute centred on whether the change in his security status was lawful and whether the process that produced it was fair. That case puts the entire Highgrove reunion into a different light. A grandfather can open his door, a king can issue a private invitation, but neither a grandfather nor a king controls which security detail greets the car when it arrives. That decision belongs to REVEC, an independent government body. REVEC operates entirely outside the personal authority of the monarch. The 2020 Palace Statement addressed this directly. It said that arrangements for security would be made through established independent processes and would not be subject to informal royal negotiation. Those words were chosen carefully. They drew a line between the Crown's personal wishes and the government's operational authority. Harry has publicly stated concerns about bringing his family to Britain without adequate protection. Those concerns are documented in legal filings, press statements, and his own published accounts. Whether one agrees with his position or considers it exaggerated, the concern itself is part of the public record. Now add King Charles to the equation. Reports circulating in the British press have suggested that Charles wants more time with Archie and Lilibet. Royal commentators have described this as a deeply personal desire, a grandfather aching to know the grandchildren growing up an ocean away. But the institution cannot simply grant that wish by overriding a government security framework. This is the wall that nobody talks about. It is not made of emotion. It is made of procedure. Charles may be king. He may command the armed forces, open parliament, and approve legislation. But he cannot pick up the phone and order the Metropolitan Police to assign a protection team to his son's family for an indefinite stay. That power sits with RAVEC and the Home Office. And Harry's legal challenge to that process has not produced a ruling that restores his former level of protection. Reconciliation can be wanted by both sides and still be blocked by a process neither side fully controls. Charles can invite Harry through the family door. He cannot guarantee what stands on the other side of it. And whatever arrangement Charles builds today must eventually survive a transition, because the crown does not stay in one pair of hands. Whatever Charles decides now must eventually pass to Prince William, and William's board looks very different from his father's. Prince William, Prince of Wales, walked into a children's hospital in London last spring, shook hands with doctors, knelt beside a young patient, and smiled for the cameras. The next morning, headlines about his brother's family dominated the front pages. His visit barely made page 5. That contrast tells the story of the future king's position better than any palace statement could. William carries out official duties supporting King Charles. The royal family's website confirms his role as heir apparent. He represents the crown at state functions, foreign visits, and domestic engagements. His wife, Catherine, Princess of Wales, does the same. Their children, Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis, are being prepared for lives of public service from the moment they were born. William did not choose the Sussex situation, he inherited it. And the question that hangs over every reported reconciliation attempt is not whether Charles can make peace with Harry. It is whether that peace can survive the transition from one king to the next. Royal commentators have suggested that William may...
She's an inspirational woman to look up to, obviously to this day, and going forward and things. It is, it's a wonderful family. The members who I've met have achieved a lot, and very inspirational.
Take a firmer position toward his brother's family when he eventually ascends to the throne. That is labelled here as commentary, not confirmed policy. No public statement from William has outlined his future intentions regarding Harry, Meghan, or their children. But the structural reality speaks for itself. Charles sees Harry as his son. That bond is biological, emotional, and irreversible. William sees Harry as his brother. That bond is also biological. But it has been reshaped by public statements, published memoirs, televised interviews, and years of documented tension that played out on a global stage. A future King William would carry responsibilities that go beyond personal feeling. He would have to weigh the institution, the expectations of the British public, the role of his own children in the succession, and the clear boundary between private relatives and working representatives. Every arrangement Charles makes today would land on William's desk tomorrow. Catherine's role in that future becomes more important here, not as Meghan's opponent, but as the wife of the future king and the mother of the next generation of direct heirs. Her position is tied to the institution in a way that no reconciliation with the Sussexes could alter. She stands where history placed her, and history does not ask permission. A temporary family reunion is easier to arrange than a settlement that holds across 2 reigns. Charles can encourage peace. He cannot guarantee that his successor will maintain it on the same terms. The Sussex question may not be decided by the king currently wearing the crown. It may be decided by the king who comes next. And that realization forces one final question. If the real conflict is not between 2 women, then what has the media been selling all along? 2 women, 2 titles, 2 countries, and a media machine that prints money every time it places them on opposite sides of a headline. Catherine, Princess of Wales, represents the working monarchy. She attends engagements, supports charities, and stands beside the heir. Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, represents an independent life that remains connected to the crown through marriage, children, and a title she still legally holds. Their positions are different, their roles are different, their daily lives share almost nothing in common. And yet the dominant public narrative insists they are locked in a war. Public storytelling turns institutional conflicts into personal rivalries because personal rivalry is easier to sell. A constitutional question about the boundaries of working royal life does not generate clicks. It does not trend on social media. It does not fill a comment section with thousands of passionate opinions. A feud between 2 women does. So the story gets reshaped, the institution disappears, the people remain, and the audience takes sides. Queen Camilla, Queen Consort, has also been drawn into this framing. According to reports in the British press, she has been cast as both a supporter of Catherine and an obstacle to the Sussexes. This episode treats her according to her documented public role. She is the wife of the king. She carries out official duties. Assigning her a hidden agenda without evidence would repeat the same mistake this chapter is designed to expose. Now examine the 4 emotional triggers packed into the original headline. Catherine under attack creates fear. The audience rushes to protect someone they admire. Meghan stealing a title creates anger. The audience identifies a clear wrongdoer. Charles furious creates urgency. If the king is losing control, the crisis must be real. Harry forcing his return creates a sense of betrayal. A man who left now demands to come back on his own terms. Fear, anger, urgency, betrayal. 4 emotions, 4 reactions, and not one of them is supported by confirmed public evidence from an official source. The media does not need the story to be true. It needs the story to be felt, and feeling requires villains, victims, and a ticking clock. Was the monarchy protecting necessary boundaries, or allowing public hostility to replace honest explanation? That question does not have a clean answer. Both things can be true at the same time. The apparent villains begin to disappear when the official structure is examined. Catherine was never losing her title. Meghan was never taking it. Charles was never confirmed as furious. Harry was never confirmed as forcing anything. The real opponent in this story was never a person. It was the ambiguity that has followed every Sussex arrangement since 2020. And now that ambiguity goes on trial. Place the headline on the stand. Read it out loud. Charles furious. After Meghan and Harry try to force their way back using Kate's forbidden title. Every word in that sentence was chosen to provoke a reaction. Now hold each word against the documented record and see what survives. Charles furious. No verified public statement from Buckingham Palace, from the King's personal office, or from any named official confirms that King Charles III reacted with fury to the reported Highgrove reunion. Royal commentators have speculated about his emotional state. Tabloid sources described as close to the palace have offered anonymous descriptions, but anonymous is not verified, and speculation is not evidence. The word furious was placed in the headline because calm does not sell. Meghan and Harry try to force their way back. A reported private family visit to Highgrove, one that produced no press release and no official palace confirmation, does not constitute a forced attempt to return to official royal service. No document, no public statement, and no confirmed palace communication describes the visit as a demand for reinstatement. The 2021 Buckingham Palace statement already confirmed that the Sussexes would not return as working royals. A family reunion does not override a constitutional conclusion. The word force was placed in the headline because invitation does not generate outrage. Kate's forbidden title. There is no official royal category, no legal classification, and no constitutional provision called a forbidden title. Catherine's documented position is the Princess of Wales. Meghan's documented position is the Duchess of Sussex. Those titles are assigned, recorded, and publicly available. Neither woman can take the other's title through personal ambition, public demand, or media pressure. Titles are granted by the sovereign under established legal authority. The word forbidden was placed in the headline because ordinary does not attract attention. 3 claims, 3 emotional triggers, and not a single one of them holds up when measured against confirmed public information. The headline promised a title theft. The record revealed a boundary dispute. The headline promised a royal war. The record revealed a family trying to figure out how much closeness is possible without destroying the institution that connects them. This is not a defence of every decision Harry and Meghan have made. It is not a defence of every decision the palace has made. It is a recognition that the space between those decisions has been filled by a media industry that profits from certainty where none exists. Charles may simultaneously love his son, want contact with his grandchildren, and insist that the structure separating private relatives from working representatives must remain intact. Those 3 things do not contradict each other. They only seem contradictory when a headline demands that the audience choose a side immediately. The title loop closes here. No title was stolen. The comeback loop closes here. No comeback was confirmed. What remains is the emotional question that started this entire story, and the only one that was ever real. A king sits at a desk inside a palace built centuries before he was born. Outside the window, the future unfolds without asking for his permission. Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet can remain members of the king's family. They can remain part of the line of succession. They can know their grandfather, visit his home, and carry the weight of royal bloodline for the rest of their lives. None of that requires their parents to return as working royals. Prince Harry can seek reconciliation with his father and his brother without automatically receiving his former institutional position. Forgiveness is not reinstatement. A handshake at Highgrove is not a contract with the Crown. Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, can keep her title without becoming Catherine's constitutional rival. The two women were never competing for the same role. The institution placed them on separate boards the moment the Sussexes stepped back in 2020. Catherine, Princess of Wales, can remain exactly where she stands, beside the future king raising the next generation of direct heirs, without being written as the frightened defender of a position that was never under genuine threat. And King Charles III, the man who holds the crown today, may find that his strongest move is not fury, it is distinction. Family is not employment. Forgiveness is not reinstatement. A title is not authority. And a blood connection is not official representation. The headlines wanted a war. The documented record revealed a family drawing a line between love and duty, then watching the world refuse to accept that both could exist at the same time. In the end, this was never about one woman taking another woman's title. It was about whether a family could reopen its heart without reopening the institution. The answer, based on everything the public record shows, is yes. But only if the boundary holds, only if the distinction survives, and only if the next king agrees. If this story made you think, subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications so you never miss the next investigation. Share your thoughts in the comments, because your voice inspires others to look deeper, and share this story with someone who needs to hear it.